And don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to like be super interactive and be on camera. This is really a way for us to like set the energy here and say hello and acknowledge that this is me talking, but also like all of us are in this together. This is very much an experience where I'm we're co-creating it together, and it's aimed to be like as helpful as possible for you. So with that being said, like my favorite thing to do is to kick this off. We're all going to say hello or make a funny noise. I just did this with like 600 people on Monday for Creative Mornings, where I'm going to count down. And then at 1, we're going to unmute, and you can either make a silly sound or say hi, like whatever your choice is. And this is the only time I'll ask you to unmute. Okay, let's try it. So 3, 2, 1.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Oh, I love the like hello that trailed off at the very end. Because it's remote and we're all like not coordinated. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for humoring me. And how are all of you showing up today before you got on this call? In 2 words, describe your mood and put it in the chat. And I realized today, okay, tired, definitely 1 word. Tired, and Simon, I hear you. Also, I realized tomorrow's a holiday. And so I'm just blown away by all the people showing up and are coming to this call all over the place, overwhelmed and hungry. Yeah, okay. Simon, you don't have to add another word. Overwhelmed. I hear you. Energized and enthusiastic. My emotions are ugh. Yeah, Megan. Bit of a brain fog. I'm showing up grateful and a little bit, I'll just say sweaty. That's a second word because I made the mistake of dancing right before this and didn't leave cool down time. All right. I want to call out like my background is in tech primarily. I did a lot of career changing, which we'll get into. But what I want to call out here is you're going to get a lot of value and clarity on your own career path. And what's different or unique about this session is it's going to be about ideas that are applicable to you no matter what, like whether you're thinking about next steps within tech or out of tech, which is something that a lot of my clients experience as well, whether to stay or to go. And I've worked with nearly 100 clients now over the past 4 years, and we're going to talk through what comes up most often for them. And I'm giving you full permission now to close the tabs. Maybe that sounds scary. So minimize them, like put this in a separate browser, like do what you got to do. Grab a pen and paper if it's helpful. I'm going to give you some exercises that we're going to walk through, some key questions. So really do whatever is most helpful to like set you up in that space where it's, okay, I'm going to give this my time. I signed up for a reason. Let's make the most of it while we can. And then if you have questions, save them to the end. I don't want to miss any of them in the chat, and we'll leave time for that. Okay, great. So let's get into it. This is going to be super powerful for you and if any of this resonates, I want you to put a 1 in the chat. If you are confused about what to do next with your career, you feel stuck or uninspired, or both, you're at a crossroads, you may have a couple options right now, but it's really hard for you to pick one. It's hard to get motivated. You feel defeated. I saw this GIF of just like what it feels like is like someone yelling at you. Of course, not as romantic as The Notebook, but like someone being like, "What do you want?" And you're like, "It's not that easy. I don't know what I want." It sounds like the stuff is resonating. And you've likely tried to talk to friends, to family members, to really like anyone who would listen, and they don't really get it. Maybe they're tired of listening to it. They don't understand the exact situation. It feels super lonely. Or you've sent resumes, tons of messages, and you're doing without hearing anything back. And you've gotten caught up in thinking you need to create the perfect message, the perfect portfolio, perfect resume, website before telling a single soul about it. It needs to be great. or you've avoided yourself like the plague. I can't tell what I really want. And probably these feelings, some of them that we mentioned in the chat, these are probably some of the things that you're feeling. I've experienced before: drained, low confidence, overwhelmed, exhausted, unsure, stressed out, like you feel knocked back a bit on your butt. So, over the course of our time together, this is my hopes and the value that I'm delivering with this, hopefully, in the presentation. It's to save you some time, reignite the spark, and feel confident again. And I'm going to share what I've seen work. And when you use this process, hopefully, it will help you reignite, I would say, or re energize that spark. So let me take you back. I haven't shared this story publicly before. Let me take you back a couple years ago, 5 years to be exact. I was 6 years into my career in tech. So I was a software engineer. I had pivoted in to software engineering after doing writing and insurance. But I was mid level at that point, about to be a senior engineer. And I went to visit Australia with my then boyfriend. And it looked like this: relatively cheerful. Oh, look, we're on a bridge, we're exploring things together. But there were also moments that the camera didn't see. And this is a tram in Australia, in Melbourne. And I remember taking the tram with him. We'd just seen a play. It was late afternoon, sunny. And on the way home, he looked at me and he said, "You know, I've been watching you and you haven't made any progress on the things you want to do or on your passions." And then he broke up with me on that tram. This is a true story. You'd be amazed that I'm telling it now. So, probably a lot of you, like I felt at that time, thought, what a jerk. But there was some truth there. After I gave it some time and reflected, I actually went off to Indonesia and did a bunch of scuba diving and tried to lose myself, to be honest. But here are the hard truths. Like, the truth that came out of this was, you know, I was spending my days going to my 9 to 5, but I was super unhappy. I waited for the day to be over at work and then spent the rest of the day complaining to whomever would listen, most of the time him. And the job that I worked my butt off for, that I thought would be it, that I career changed, that I got into, that paid well and was a cool company by whatever standards, with the bean bags and snacks, it wasn't enough. And I thought maybe tech wasn't for me. It was at this point where I was really considering what else was next. And I would binge watch TV. I spent most of my days in bed, stopped pursuing the fun things that I used to do. So when I heard what he said, I thought, well, passion is just something that doesn't happen for me, maybe for other people. And here's the thing, something that I want to call out in every presentation, every message that I share. I don't believe in all consuming passions. This notion that you'll never work a day in your life, that work is like the thing you eat, sleep, and breathe, whatever. That's not the way that I play, or like I work with people on and believe and want to put out there. But what I do believe in is playing to your strengths and adding energy to that to live a balanced, holistic life. Like, I believe this is the formula of like what gives you energy and what you're good at. We'll talk a little bit about how to do that, of course. And then adding in these two ingredients, which we'll go into a little more of like how this presents and how it's helpful. Adding experimentation and intentionality is so important to discover what you really want to do. And the reason why this is so relevant and necessary to understand right now is because this will take you from being like so hard on yourself, beating yourself up about not doing the perfect thing, and moves you into a career which gives you energy, which gives you more room to play around with and test things. And that moment in Australia was a wake-up call for me. it led to me finding really fulfilling careers from then on. Not every single career, certainly, but I changed jobs. I became an engineering manager because I realized like the part that I really loved was the people interaction, unlocking potential, those one-on-ones. I became an engineering manager at a music production company because I realized how much I love the creative space. And I ended up currently like building a six-figure business, which is solely based on like helping women find careers that they love. So let's roll up our sleeves, proverbial sleeves, and get even deeper into the content of those three things to focus on. So the first step is you need to shift from being reactive to creating a career where you're the main star. And what do I even mean by that? So there's something like, say it's backseat energy. I don't know if that's a term. It probably is you're on calls for jobs you're not excited about. Say you're job hunting and you're like, okay, I will kick the can down the road. I'll wait till I get to the next round. They accept me, they move me on, and then I'll think about whether I actually want this job. Or I'm exhausting myself and my friends talking about, should I go? Should I stay? I don't know. Will it be better? Can I make it? I haven't tried another role in this industry or in this title. Maybe I won't even land the job. Maybe I won't even have that option. Or taking the little energy you have to apply to just one job to check a box and say, okay, I did it for the day. I can like close my laptop, the job search, I'm doing it. This is about shifting to you. Like this step alone, if you start doing this, will lead you to huge leaps in finding more career alignment. Rather than waiting for the company to tell you yes, some external validation, some kind of signal that you're good enough. And let me break it into more of a metaphor. Let's see. Let's see if this works. Is say you want to cook something for dinner and you don't know what you want to cook. So you just start throwing stuff in. Maybe a friend tells you to throw carrots in. And then you Google, you read on a message board that kidney beans are also good for you. So you throw that in and you end up with chili. But you didn't want chili. Actually, this whole time you knew you wanted some type of pasta, even though you weren't sure about the exact sauce you wanted to put on it. But you had spent the whole evening making chili. Picture something maybe less delicious than chili, but I hope you get my drift of this is like to bring the metaphor back. Are you spending your life making endless batches of chili of something that you don't want to make when you know you have some foundation of what you want, which is pasta? You just don't know if you want it to be tomato based or I was going to say white based. What is that? Uh, vodka based? No, the white sauce. Anyway, little breadcrumbs there. Alfredo. That's it. Thank you, Katie. Cream. Wow, you all have my back. Okay. And know your pastas. So to get back to this before I derail us completely, it's maybe it's just not knowing how to pivot, or maybe it's I have an underlying breadcrumb that I can use to go on this path. So let me take this out and extend it further and walk you through an exercise. It's really simple that I use with clients. I want you to think about the people that inspire you. So start thinking about this now. The people that you think, and when you see them, you're like, wow, they're doing something awesome. Or, if you're not feeling so generous, who do you see where it's on social media, of course, on LinkedIn or Instagram, and you start feeling envious, get kind of irritated. So for me, I'll name a few. This is Terry Gross on the right, who runs runs a radio program called Fresh Air on NPR. Before podcasts, she was interviewing people, and I just always wanted to be Terry Gross. And then there's Tina Roth Eisenberg, who runs Creative Mornings, which is this global creative community, and Serena Williams, who I used to play, who needs no introduction. And I played tennis competitively for years, and she was my idol. Well, we kind of grew up together, so she was peers, but I really admired her. So here's what I want you to think about. You have those people in mind. Who inspires you? What do you admire about them? What patterns can we pull out, those threads between those people? And how can we add that into our own lives? I'll give you all about 2 minutes to think about it. Put it in the chat who you admire. I'd love to hear those. And then I'll break it down a little bit more. Oh, and you can also do this for envy. What do you envy about these people? What patterns can we identify? And how can we add that into our lives? Oh, and it was, let me put it in the chat, Manju. Tina Roth Eisenberg, Creative Mornings. Okay, so give you all a little bit of time to think and look at the chat.
What 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 was the previous set of questions? You had two sets of questions, right?
Yeah, they're the same question. Well, it's one is inspire, more positive, and then one is the other one are the same questions, but for envy. So you can pick your flavor. So let me walk you through. And if people want to share who they admire, who they envy, put those in. I bet we have some things in common, or maybe some from right field. For me, so Terry Gross is someone who she admits very publicly to being shy, also like me, and she plays to her strengths, which is she runs Fresh Air, which is about deep one-on-one conversations with people doing amazing things. And Tina Roth she makes creativity accessible to everyone and it's global. I've gone to meetups in London, to Ecuador, to, Portland, Oregon, all over the world. And they're free, they're accessible. And Serena Williams, I mean, now she's really into fashion. She's doing VC. She's one of the best tennis players in the world, if not the best. She reinvents herself fearlessly. So thinking about these things, how did it help me with my career trajectory and my pivots? Which, to explain, like I've gone from journalism to software engineering to being a VC-backed founder to a coach to having a portfolio career and doing some consulting as well. I've had 20 different jobs. I can tell you about some of them, like being a dumpling maker. But how the wheelhouse, my strengths of networking are through one-on-one combos. Because for me, like Terry Gross, that was playing to my strengths and what gave me energy. You'll never catch me at a big conference, maybe Grace Hopper occasionally, but it's just not the way that I like to interact with people and find fun. And then to add like this draw to creativity and making it accessible, I pursued roles which were building tools and engineering, which were only at creative companies like Skillshare, which teaches writing. They recently had Roxane Gay, teach a class on novel writing. And so I knew my next steps and the breadcrumbs there was I wanted to do something creative and I was going to get there by leaning into one-on-one conversations. Yeah, Mel Robbins is such a great one. And this Megan said Lisa Jewell is a best-selling writer who lives in a beautiful small town in Europe, which sounds dreamy, crafting captivating stories. I don't know if you can tell right now, but I'm in London, so not quite in that small town, but hopefully getting some of those vibes. Okay, nailing your story will make your job search 10 times faster. And I want to call out some of the common mistakes that I've seen. So, biggest thing, and I used to do this, is starting chronologically. So, someone would ask me, tell me about yourself. And I would start with, well, I graduated from college with this, or like from the day I was born, I was born here. Or not preparing. Someone asks you a question and then you start rambling and kind of going off the cuff. Well, I did this, and then like stream of consciousness, whatever comes to mind. Or other mistakes of being too professional. You have a watered down, generic version of yourself and attempt to be too professional, not cross any boundaries which would make people uncomfortable or, make you seem like you don't know what you're doing. And then also, it's really important, not adapting to your audience. So telling the same story, no matter if you're talking to, let's say, a hiring manager or a coffee chat with an acquaintance or someone in the elevator. It's about knowing who your audience is and why it matters to them. So the first tip I have is to put your storyteller hat on, which means it's about the story, not just the skills, because the skills, when you're interviewing, like that's the bare minimum. People are expecting you to have those skills. What makes you stand out is actually you. Like, what makes you, I mean, it sounds so cliche, but what makes you you? And so instead of being like, I did this for 3 years and this for this amount, just like stating the facts essentially, actually understanding that people are looking to understand who you are, how you think, why you made the decisions that put you in this position, why you're like having a conversation with them, how you ended up there. So if you're pivoting, for example, like this will help you pivot so you're not starting from scratch, you're actually going like parallel. You're making a lateral move, if not above, and leveraging your experience. So for example, um, I was the writer before I was a software engineer, and people would get their minds blown when I had interviews. I mean, they still do. Like, wow, it's so different. And the way I talk about it is one, it like sets me apart, but two, how we form stories and how we shape them and organizing thoughts. That's very much how we write code. Is we want to organize things in a structured way so it's readable to other people. And because a code base is written by, like, it can be written by 20, 200 engineers, multiple people. You want that story to be understood by other people. And you have to organize your thoughts in order to make something out of nothing, essentially. Of here, we want to build this. Okay, how do we figure out how to build it? So it's about breaking it down. Just very much like writing. And probably a more concrete example that would be really helpful is, so this is Courtney. She worked in operations at a startup and also CrossFit and audiobook lover. She told me she loved listening to audiobooks on her commutes to work. And when we met, she said, I feel stuck in terms of career growth and a bit lost in terms of how to decide what the right next move is and how to get there. And she ended up career pivoting and landing in a job in 4 weeks from operations to product management, which she had some idea that she wanted to do that, but she was considering other things like chief of staff, other roles, maybe operations again. And we experimented with what would work for her and what felt good, and also how to tell that story. So we took out the key parts of her background that were important to her, that she cared about, shone a light on the strengths which carried over from previous roles, and then to put that storyteller hat on again of what makes you you, or what makes Courtney herself, is she loves CrossFit. And so we thought, interesting, how can we tie that in? Because it opens up a dialogue, whether they do CrossFit or not. It's something someone can hang their hat on and be like, oh, okay, interesting. We can talk about this and kind of riff on this. And how we brought it up and communicated it was, Her love of CrossFit tied into her work ethic and interest in challenging herself, which for anyone who's tried CrossFit, it's extremely challenging. And get intentional about what you want to say. And to do this, here's what I want you to do. And it's the framework for how to get started. This is part of it, is identify who you want to speak to. Maybe this is obvious. Maybe you're saying it's a hiring manager. Duh. This is who I want to speak to. I want to get a job. But maybe it's I'm trying to feel out if I want to go into this industry or this role, technical product management, let's say, or design, UX. So identifying who do I want to speak to? Do I want to speak to other UX designers to find out what that's like? Do I want to speak to people at bigger companies or agencies or places where they're at a startup and they're the only person? Or there could be, like a tons of other different people. Maybe it's clients, maybe you're building a business. And then list out what you want them to know about you and why. And the why here is really important. I would actually add the why to the first part too, to get really intentional about why is this important? Why are we doing this with our time? And number two, listing out what you want them to know and why. Make sure that everything that you're saying is a message that you want to land and is the thing that is most important for them to take away. And then make it short. You all probably know that people's attention spans are super short right now. And in a world where there are so many applications, so much noise in general, so many calls that we're on Zoom, that it's really important to make it short and essential. So if you're talking, let's say, for 3 minutes nonstop, that's way too long for guidance. You want to leave time for questions, or you could say, I'm happy to elaborate and give them the space to follow up with that as well. So if you had a go-to message you're excited about and could share parts of you that you care about, I want you to think about what would that give you? What would change having these questions, knowing these questions to a T, having a guideline, a go-to of, okay, this is what I want to say. Think about like what would change. And here's a secret. This is going to be super counterintuitive. I am going to say that disclaimer, like job searching is hard. And there are certainly circumstances where you're like, I need a paycheck right now. I have people relying on me. It's a privilege to think of it this way. I say that like wholeheartedly. With that being said, I want to just offer this to you is the more fun you have with your job search, the easier it will be on yourself. It probably feels high stakes because it is it can be. And it feels high pressure right now when you're just going in and out of disappointments and it feels never ending. And there's a lot of weight on your shoulders for how long is this going to take? They're judging me. Like, I have to say the right thing. I'm attending this Zoom talk because I want to find out all the right ways to do things. So let's sit with this a second. Someone's singing opera in the background on the street. Sit with this a second and humor me. What if it could be more fun? I'm certain many of you came to this talk because you thought, oh, this looks like a fun person. At least like she's standing out, she's doing something a little different. And I need a little bit of that. So what if it could be more fun? And you remember these feelings from before. I bet these feelings are showing up You feel like you can't relax or enjoy time with your loved ones. I had someone recently who's like, my partner just got through med school and I feel like I can't celebrate with them because I'm too worried about what will happen next with the job search. Or you're avoiding doing anything because it feels scary and overwhelming to consider the next steps. So you scroll on your phone or distract yourself with food, which I'm so guilty of. Just bought dark chocolate today. And you give yourself such a hard time for not doing enough. And it looks so damn easy for other people. Here's the thing is you can make huge, huge moves, period. I believe in you. But you can also do this, and you can do this by making small ones and making fun small moves. For example, I'm going to tell you a story of how I ended up as a chocolatier, which means making chocolate. I was I was a software engineer in Austin, Texas, and I was coding. I was working at a cool startup. And I thought, "Oh, I love chocolate. What would it be like to try working with it?" Turns out I hated it. I lasted for one day, 4 hours exactly. I did one shift with the expectation that I was like supposed to keep working there. I had convinced someone. I, Here's the thing, I didn't make like these huge moves. They call it in engineering like a waterfall of I didn't go back to school and then to learn to be a chocolatier or wait for years. I tried one small step to dip my toe in the water and see if I liked it. And so I emailed a bunch of chocolate shops and asked them if I could work there. And this is Shamshir. So used to be a product manager, still is a product manager in some ways at Pinterest and Thumbtack, like big companies. And when we met, she was super burnt out and burned by prior roles with bad managers and not good culture, very competitive culture. And when we met, she said, I'm at a crossroads with how to manage my career after spending years as a PM. And also, she majored in engineering, so had done some pivots before. And this, we actually did, I'm doing a podcast, and she added this part about her new mindset. Like, this is the thing we worked on is how can I add 10% more fun to everything I do? And from this, she found her freedom and confidence to try new things. She experimented with several careers. We looked at different company sizes, different industries, whether it's growth or internal tools as a PM. She experimented with working in sales. She founded her own company. She got a paid client within 3 months with that company. She posted on Reddit. We did little experiments like that. She went traveling to another country. So this 10% more fun was about removing the pressure and shifting it back to you as that main star. And I've had clients live their childhood dream of going and working on a farm for the day and things of that nature. And this this experiment part is what I want you to take away is these decisions don't need to be for forever. And it doesn't mean you're a failure if you don't like working with chocolate. You did it for 4 hours. It's actually, these are data points. We're running an experiment. Here's the hypothesis. Here are the things, the constraints. Here's what we're looking for. Here's what we're testing. And this is the kind of feedback that's so helpful when you're iterating to, okay, now I know this. We've designed this experiment. We've gotten the results. It can happen so quickly. Like I've seen us take the data points, work with it, and it can happen within 1 hour or a week of getting feedback. So these are the key questions that I want you to think about. You can write this down, take a screenshot, or happily send you slides later. Is what feels fun to experiment on? What's 10% more fun? What are you curious about? This is a really big one. What is the smallest way we can run this experiment? The prototype. How will we know if it's a success or failure? Either way, how will we know? How will we know when the experiment's done? And if you apply an experimentation mindset, what kind of magic could happen? Oh, I added a bonus exercise. We're actually pretty good on time. Is here's how you can use AI to do this. So list out everything you like about your past jobs and then take that list or take your resume, copy and paste it, and then put it in perplexity.ai. Actually, it'd be interesting. Take your resume, put it in Perplexity, and ask them, what roles do you think I'm suitable for? Or what roles do you recommend for me based on what I do now? Okay, that's one experiment. Then take everything that you've listed out on your own without your resume, and then ask perplexity.ai, or they just call it Perplexity. What roles do you recommend based on what I like? Maybe it's about the culture. Maybe it's about your day to day. Maybe there's other specifics like you want to have more of an impact or you want it to be climate focused. And then ask it why. Why did it give you these decisions? So like based on, they're like, oh, it looks like you really like to synthesize complex information and you're good at it. So this is why I suggested this. And then you can also use this. I like Perplexity because it cites the sources, so there's less hallucination. And you can decide for yourself whether these sources are credible or not. Sometimes they cite Reddit. And then ask it to do things like, what are the salaries? What's the salary for a senior level UX researcher in New York City? What's the average start salary or what's the starting salary? And getting a ballpark from there, the things that you're wondering, things that you want to experiment on. We can use this as a little playground. So here's what we covered. Shifting from being reactive to a career where you're the main star. You're at the forefront of every decision in a way that feels fun. And that's like the key ingredient that takes the pressure off, that adds more experimentation, and is being driven by what you want, what you're interested in, and nailing your story to make your job search so much easier. And then people know what you stand for, what you care about, and adding in personality or like the unique parts of your background to that. I haven't asked you a question in a bit. Um, what were your aha moments so far? What's been valuable in what we've covered? I'll put this back here. Ruthie. Hi, Ruthie. Yeah, the bonus exercise. I'm so glad but then I forgot about that. I was like, oh yeah, if we're good on time, we're gonna do this. So yeah, play around with that. I have a couple other AI tools I really like to try out. Another one is Content AI to test out your tone of voice, your brand. Treating things like an experiment, Stephanie. The chili metaphor. Anna, okay. I'm glad I changed it from a garden this morning. I was like, this one's confusing. So I'm glad that resonated. Running the smallest experiment possible. Yeah. I think you'd like that too, Bhavya, as like being an engineer of what's the smallest ticket? What is the thing that we can try in this little playground of what we can do? Starting salaries or small steps in the bonus exercise and the starting salaries with it. AI prompts. Cool. Yeah, I should probably do this talk. I have a longer talk about AI and essentially what you can do to beyond ChatGPT to play around with these ideas. Okay. And now I'm so excited to tell you we're having our upcoming cohort for Authentic, which is my 12-week live group live group coaching program for women in tech. And in this program, you'll uncover your dream role. Again, not about passion, all-consuming passion that work is your life, but uncovering your dream role that energizes you and plays to your exact strengths. And here's everything we will cover. So we did a couple of the exercises. Well, we did like half of some of the exercises to give you a little taste. But inside of this, we'll cover creating clarity to a fuller extent, walking you through exercises, having coaching with other people in the community, how to communicate your story. I have this Venn diagram of, looking at what you care about, what your audience cares about, and then how to put it together formulaically. And also how to do this in a variety of ways, whether it's LinkedIn, in person, at a conference, and how to uncover hidden gem opportunities. Because I didn't mention this in this talk, but over 40% of roles are not posted online anymore, especially with the amount of applicants. Like employers are just would rather just look at their internal networks rather than be bombarded by applications. It's how I got actually like my last two consulting roles. There was no job description. And creating your personal success system to learn how to thrive. I had someone who would clutter up her calendar with all the stuff that she didn't want. And then we honed in on what she wanted to spend her time doing, not checking Slack 24/7 or being on all of these coffee calls and networking. Was how do we free up time to pursue what really you care about and what will move you further? And discovering your number one career blind spots. You're not stuck in limbo wondering what's worked or what didn't work. How to conduct these mini experiments along the way and reverse engineer from your goal. And cultivating a limitless mindset. So creating the big opportunity mindset to boost your resilience and show up for yourself, even on the most challenging of days, which I would say is one of the most important parts. Is change is hard, like pivoting is hard, transitions, working is hard, and being in tech is hard, being a woman in tech. All of these things, lucky us, but having that resilience and support through those. So all of these modules that we talked about is going to be covered within this framework with a total value of 4,000. And 67% of women in Authentic from the last cohort landed jobs within 60 days of the program. And I want to talk about some of the people who are in the program. So without mentioning their names, a senior data scientist who also just got a published book deal with Penguin, and she's publishing a book on cocktails. A consultant who owns her own business and recently took on a head of growth role. An engineering manager who's pivoting into product management. A software engineer who pivoted into nursing within the first week that we started working together. And then a product manager and founder and coach who just recently she held an event online announcing her business, and I was part of the panel. And here's how Authentic works. So we kick off with a 75-minute strategy call, which is just you and me. We create a plan together. We do some visualization. This is straight in the weeds with a Google Doc. And then we have coaching calls every 2 weeks so you can get your questions answered and talk through what is coming up and hear from other women in the group. Plus, there's a private Slack community, I like to say 24/5, the weekdays, where we can keep in touch between those calls, really like as a thread to keep us connected, to celebrate wins, hold you accountable throughout the program, get support, as well as lifetime access to the membership area, where there's meditations, there's exercises, you can watch where you're not tethered to your desk. You can listen to it while you're walking, while you're in the park, while you're I used to lay down in parks and listen to podcasts. You can lay down. And we're kicking off this cohort in July, after the holidays, second week of July. And we celebrate together. So these are some of the messages from Slack. It's, um, it feels a little weird to read them out, but it feels braggy, I guess. But I'm celebrating having friends in town, having a really good second interview yesterday, or celebrating leaving a conference within 3 hours because she didn't need to stay 10 hours to get the full value. She actually just landed a job in machine learning as a machine learning engineer. And see, had my call with the founder. He made me feel super heard. We had talked through this as a group, and she got her written offer for her dream job. Honestly, like her words, dream job. So I want to emphasize what a special community this is. And as part of this, as being on this call, I'm offering personalized one-on-one coaching on Slack. So async. And this is, think of it as like, if you're feeling stuck or you're like, I really want you to review this, or can you talk me through this? We can do voice notes, we can do written messages. Yeah, probably most of you know that I love voice notes. And from this, like I would say, this is really helpful in getting, if you need help throughout the program, to get like personalized attention. And this is limited to the first 5. One of these spots has already sold out, and it's for 24 hours only. And the way I like to look at it is there are 2 paths. One is a hell of a lot of confusion. It's where I was in Australia, where I was trying to piecemeal things together and doing things on my own, which can be lonely and exhausting and takes a lot of time. And things may or they may not change. Or you could accelerate your progress and follow a proven roadmap. And I want to say I'm not special. Like here's a picture of me writing these slides. I love showing this picture. No makeup, I'm in bed, I'm eating chocolate frosting. I don't have special powers. I'm introverted, I have lazy days. I don't come from money, but I do have a proven roadmap that I can 100% say has helped me and so many of my clients get alignment and fulfillment. And inside Authentic, I'm giving that roadmap to you of what we work on. And the second bonus is the VIP next role glow up, which is a lot of words, and is I will review with you your job search assets, whether that's your resume, your LinkedIn, cover letters, your website, your portfolio, if you have those, and give you feedback, specific things, recommendations, and pointing it out. We'll do a Loom video. I'll do a Loom video. You'll watch the Loom video of the things that can be improved and like are the things that would like put you strategically in a better position. I'll optimize it. And the confidence bundle. And so this is, I love doing customized meditations. That means like specific to you. I'll show you what I mean in our one-on-one call where we do visualizations, but creating a customized meditation you can listen to every day. And also a special module on how to do confidence building outreach in a way where I did a talk on how to do outreach while you're running on fumes. And so how can we do this in a way where it feels good and isn't like, I'm sending this generic message out or I'm asking all these people for favors and it feels icky. How can I do this in a way that feels good for me? Okay, so here I've talked about all the things. Here's what it looks like. Here's the breakdown. And everything you'll get by joining Authentic. So with the bonuses, it's an 8750. So how you say those numbers? 8750 value. And it's really important to me to make this program more accessible because I know a lot of people feel like this. It's not just like a select few, just us showing up, even like you're feeling burnt out, lost, or stuck. And I don't want cost to be the reason why you settle and miss out on a chance to meet these other women and be supported and make a change and be part of those 60, what was it? It was for 66%. I guess you can round up because it's 2/3 of women who are now in jobs that they are mildly obsessed with. It's one of the words that someone uses. I'm mildly obsessed with this job. And there are also monthly payments where you can pay at $9.80 or do one payment. No, you might have doubts, and that is 100% okay. I hear you. You might say, I'm not sure if it's the right time. Like, I'm about to go on holiday. I don't know. I don't know if now, maybe I'll join it whenever you try and do this again. So I want you to be curious and ask yourself, what would make it the right time? And what made you decide to show up today and use your time now to to be here? You could be doing a million other things than this workshop. So just sit with it for a second and ask yourself what's important to you right now. And it may be this, it may not be. And Shiva, so she's actually the person who lived out her childhood dream and worked on a farm, worked in operations as a lead at a startup. And she was just laid off from her job. She was also going through some very personal issues with her family. And we talked through it, like whether it was the right time for her. And it ended up being the most important time for her to get this work, to do this investment, because for her, she felt so lost that it was really easy to get caught up in that and stay in the same spot for months, maybe even years sometimes. And we worked together. Here's what she got to do. She started working as a stylist. She worked at this clothing boutique shop. She started working, volunteering at a yoga place. She moved to Atlanta to work at Spanx. Moved out of her parents' house. Or I've never invested in myself, which I've been there myself. I rarely spend money on, I'm always buying at a discount, let's say. And I splurge hard when it comes to gifts for my loved ones, but it feels scary and new to invest in myself. And so I want to acknowledge that because it could be new for you as well, newer for you. And that's an exciting thing. Is investing in yourself is saying you trust yourself to make big moves and that you, well, I think it's a little bit tricky to say that you deserve this, but I would say that you trust that you want to take this opportunity, that it's right for you at this time. And there's also an option if you're like, I want more one-on-one time, I'm not sure about just the group. There's also an option for more one-on-one sessions as well, where we can meet every month or one-on-one coaching. And you might say, I'm not sure if it will work. And that's so valid. Like, I'm glad that you're thinking that. So it's really important to me that everyone wants to be here and grow together. And so because of that, if you join the program and you're like, this is not my vibe, or it's not what I need right now, that's okay. I'll gladly give you a refund. And this is Amy, a senior data scientist who said, I love, you can tell she's a writer. I'm 3 months into a job search and feeling really unmoored and doubting my professional skills as well as my ability to pick up new ones. And she was the one who got the book deal with Penguin. And then also, she said, I received a written offer from a company I'm mildly obsessed with, which ended up being this femtech company where she loves her boss. We specifically looked at a company where she would have a team that's got her back and she feels like she can collaborate with them. So if you're ready to sign up, let's go. I will put the link in the chat. And if anyone's interested in asking questions too, I will stop sharing the screen and come meet you. Okay, so anyone with questions, you can put it in the chat or Sorry, I'm just changing my screens. You can put it in the chat, or you can put it, you can come off mute and come on camera. Let me get that link too. You're welcome. I feel like I should DJ our way out. It's also the first time that we're not going over, which is amazing.
Hey, Sarah, this is Rebecca. I wanted to say thank you. This was refreshing, insightful, but also just refreshing from the way you approached everything. It was great.
Thank you. And thank you for telling me. Sometimes it's like speaking into a void. So I
Yeah.
super appreciate that. And yeah, try and make it refreshing because we can all be on so many Zoom calls and they're so boring. Thanks. Oh, it's so nice to see so many names of people that I know. I've messaged some of you and asked you about your weekends or talked to you before you've come to other meetings. So thanks. Okay. Well, if there are any questions or anything, you have like the spirit of the stairs feeling, like there's a French phrase for that, where you like think of something as you're walking up the stairs. Let me know. I will send an email with the replay, and then if anyone needs slides, I can send that too. But thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you. And enjoy your holiday too, for those in the US.